This story begins in New York where we see John Wick practicing his punching. The Bari King came with a new suit for him which was bulletproof, and he said, "John Wick, God bless you for the final fight with a high table." After this, the scene shifts to a desert, where we see John Wick shooting the Elder's goons one after another who were begging for their lives, but John Wick was like a destruction who was killing them one by one. He then goes to see Elder after finishing everything. The Elder tells John that his intentions of finishing the high table will only lead to his destruction. If one head is cut off, many new heads will come up. To which John says that he only asked for his freedom. Elders say that, "If you have come here to finish me, then you should know that after my death, you will not get freedom, but death." But John Wick shoots him in the head anyway. After this, the scene shifts to New York, where we are shown Hotel Continental. Here a person named Harbinger with a chopped ring finger comes to the receptionist Charon and delivers a secret message which came from the high table. If we talk about the ring finger, then cutting the ring finger means taking a life oath, making a promise to yourself to follow someone for some reason in life. Here, Harbinger places a very expensive time watch in front of Winston and asks him to meet Marcus in 1 hour. He tells Winston that after the death of the Elder, the entire command of the high table is in the hands of Marcus. He says that Marcus wants to meet you right now, and you cannot refuse to meet him. After this, Winston and Sharon reach to meet Marcus in his luxurious building. Marcus says, "Winston, you were asked to kill John Wick, but you cheated us." Winston said that he killed John. Marcus says that he is still alive and killing our own people. In return, you will definitely be punished. As soon as the timer stops, the bomb blasts and the Hotel Continental gets blown away. Marcus's anger was not going to end there. So, as a punishment to Winston, he also killed Charon. Then the movie shifts to Paris, where we see a girl Mia playing violin, and his father Cain also sitting there. The character of Cain is one of the best characters in the movie, because he has glasses on his eyes and has a lot of power like Hulk in his hands. We can compare him with daredevils. Cain also gets the message to meet Marcus as soon as possible. He reaches to meet him. Marcus welcomes Cain and praises him for the old killer who once used to kill the boogeyman. But Cain says that all this was his old work, and has left all that behind. He refuses to go back to his old life. Marcus then threatens him and says that if he wants to save his daughter's life, then he will have to do work for him. Life in exchange for one life. After this, Cain gets the name of his target, which is John Wick. Both of them used to be friends once upon a time. That's why Cain refuses to do this, but Marcus even threatens to kill his daughter if Cain refuses to do the work. Cain was forced to make this deal. Now the scene shifts to China, where we see the Osaka Continental Hotel. The special thing about this hotel is that even if there is an enemy or enemies of the enemy, they can never attack each other inside this hotel. Bloodshed, violence, and theft were strictly prohibited inside the hotel. The owner of this hotel was Shimajo, who was with his receptionist Akira, who was telling him the list of today's work. At the same time, John Wick enters to meet him. Akira says that Papa, the whole mafia, is looking for him. What is he doing here? If he is present here, then Marcus' people must have come here. But Shimajo said that he is his friend, and it's his duty to protect his friend. After that, Marcus's people and Chidi come to the reception and ask for the owner. They tell Shimajo that they have received a message about John Wick taking refuge here. Shimajo said that you are my guest. Well, you have come here, you can search wherever you want, but bringing weapons here is not allowed. But the high table guards were ready to kill him. So finally, Shimajo also had to call his team filled with the famous criminals of the city. Some are archers, some sharpshooters, and even sumo wrestlers. The John Wick series is famous for its action, which is literally evident in this explosive fight scene. Akira is staying near John Wick, but realizing that her life is in danger, she takes off her dress and transforms into a samurai, killing the enemy one by one. There was a fight going on between both teams. Someone was firing from somewhere. Meanwhile, John Wick reaches there and starts killing all the goons one by one. When Chidi couldn't control the final fight, he called Cain for help. Now there is Cain, who despite being blind, had many gadgets to help him, like the sensor bell, which tells him when anyone is near him. With the help of these gadgets, he was able to save himself, and was ready for the final fight. There is a moment where he takes down John Wick while firing bullets. Cain thinks he is dead, but accidentally he hears some voice from John Wick, and once again a severe fight begins between them. Then there is the entry of a new character, whose name is Nobody. Although he has been kept secret in this movie, he is said to have come to kill John Wick for money. Although John escaped from there, Nobody had reached there along with his dog. If Nobody wanted, he could have shot John with his gun, but he decided not to kill him until the price on his head doubled. He let him go. Shimajo and Akira were in very bad condition. They were about to reach a place to save their lives when suddenly Kane showed up. Shimajo tries to convince him, signifying the difference between friendship and humanity. He tells Kane about times when they were friends. Kane says that your daughter is safe. She is just in safe hands, but my daughter is in danger, so I have to do this all. And the fight starts between them. Connie wins in this fight. Akira is angry at him, but Kane asks her to save her anger for the right time. Akira goes to the train station where she finds John Wick blaming him for her father's death. She tells him to kill Kane, or she will. This is where their friendship begins. The scene shifts towards Winston, who was looking at the Continental, which was destroyed. Then the Bowery King also comes there. They both know that their still being close to John makes them targets. Meanwhile, Harbinger talks to Marquis over the unnecessary bloodshed at the Osaka Continental, but Marquis says it is necessary to not only kill John, but to destroy the idea of him. Marquis is then visited by Mr. Nobody, who demands a $23 million contract for killing John Wick. Marquis responds by putting a knife through his hand, forcing him to choose either pulling the knife out or pulling out his hand to see where his loyalty lies. Mr. Nobody pulls his hand out, cutting between his fingers, after which Marquis agrees to hand him the contract. John meets Winston at Charon's tomb, offering his condolences for the loss of his friend. Winston wants to get back at Marquis, so he tells John that in order to win his freedom from the high table, he must challenge Marquis for a duel fight. Even though it is believed that high table duels were only myths, the only people who can support John in his endeavor are his family. Seeing no other way, John agrees to seek them out. John travels to see his sister's advisor, Ruska Roma, in Berlin, where he is greeted with a shotgun blast by the priest before he is tied up with a noose around his neck. He is visited by his sister Katya, who is angry with John because his killing of the elder led Marquis to order the execution of her father Piotr, who would have approved of John in the duel fight. John offers to help Katya to redeem himself, and she orders him to go after a German high-table member named Killa, the man who killed her father. John then goes to see Killa at a nightclub where Kane and Mr. Nobody are already present, tracking down John. The three sit for a card game with Killa, where Killa cheats before having his men go after the three assassins. While Kane and Nobody hold their own against the thugs, John goes after Killa throughout the club. John slices and cuts his neck with a card and fights him. Killa uses his strength and weight against John to kill him. Killa pushes John over the balcony, but it is not enough to stop him. John eventually corners Killa and knocks him over a stairway, where he smashes his head into the ground, leading to his death. John then takes one of Killa's gold teeth as proof of his death, and brings it to Katya, who reacts approvingly and helps John undergo the ceremony, where he is branded with the family's quest and given support for the duel fight. Winston visits Marquis with the official challenge document from John for the duel. Despite Marcus's attempt to refuse, Winston reminds him that he is still bound to the high table, and it's a custom, so he must go through with it. In addition, Winston demands that if John wins, Winston will no longer be a member of the high table, and this Hotel Continental will be uncondemned and rebuilt as it was before, with its management reinstated. John arrives to sit down with Marcus, as Harbinger presides over them to discuss the conditions of the duel. They will meet at the same time in Paris at sunrise, and will duel with guns. If either fails to show up before the deadline, it will be an automatic forfeiture and grounds for execution. Kane will be Marquise's second to fight the duel on behalf of Marquis, and he agrees to allow him and his daughter free if he can kill John. John goes to a church where he sits to pay tribute to his wife, Helen. Kane meets him there, in a friendly manner, telling him about his daughter Mia and what he has to lose. John later meets Winston and Bowery King. Bowery gave him a gun and a bulletproof suit. Harbinger reminds Marquis of what happens at the high table if he gets killed by John, to ensure that John does not make it to the duel on time. Marquis deploys Chitty with his gang to go after him. A radio DJ also announces to other listening killers that they reward them. John is ready for anyone who tries to kill him before sunrise. John faces off against gunmen in the streets, even getting into the traffic around the Arc de Triomphe, shooting the bad guys, or letting them get it by cars. The high table keeps track of his whereabouts, leading to more killers going after him. John enters a warehouse full of bad guys and fires explosive rounds at them. At the same time, nobody helps take out some of the killers and contacts Marquis, demanding a higher payment. Marquis ultimately agrees to a $40 million contract. John finally makes it to the steps leading up to killing several more killers, before Chitty shows up and knocks him all the way down. Kane shows up to help John get to the top, helping him kill Chitty's guys. Nobody arrives as well fighting Chitty because he threw his dog into traffic. With John's help, the dog bites Chitty, and nobody puts a bullet in Chitty's head. John makes it to the duel arena before the sun rises. John and Kane grab their pistol as they engage in an old-fashioned duel. Both manage to hit each other twice. In the third round, Kane shoots John, but John does not fire back. Marcus then orders that he claim the final shot so that he may be the one to kill John Wick. He grabs his gun and aims for John before Winston reminds him that John didn't fire his last round. Marquise realizes this too late before John blows his brains out. Harbinger then declares that both John and Kane are free from their obligations to the high table. John goes back down the steps and briefly thinks about his wife, saying her name Helen. He emotionally asks Winston, "Will you take me home?" and falls down. John Wick died a free man. Winston and Bowery Kings bury John next to Helen with his tombstone, reading, "Loving husband," as per his request. Bowery King asks Winston if he thinks John is in heaven or hell, to which Winston replies, "Who knows?